Hey everybody, this is a clip from the latest episode of the Randi Rhodes Show. If you want the full episode, you can watch live on Free Speech TV, Dish Channel 9450.
Mary had a little man.
The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream today. Change has come to America.
Believe me.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show.
Turn up your mind.
Slightly. But let's be frank, a national nightmare is upon us. The basic rules of our democracy are under attack from the president. We begin tonight with a series of admissions by the president that all but assures his impeachment in the House of Representatives. It's a moment of truth for Republicans, and they've been largely silent on what we've seen from the president. Today, he publicly called on two foreign governments to interfere in the presidential election by investigating his chief 2020 political rival.
What exactly did you hope Zelenskyy would do about the Bidens after your phone call? Exactly.
Well, I would think that if they were honest about it, they'd start a major investigation into the Bidens. It's a very simple answer. They should investigate the Bidens, because how does a company that's newly formed, and all these companies, if you look at, and by the way, likewise, China should start an investigation into the Bidens, because what happened in China is just about as bad as what happened with Ukraine. So I would say that President Zelenskiy, if it were me, I would recommend that they start an investigation into the Bidens, because nobody has any doubt that they weren't crooked. That was a crooked deal, 100%.
So what you just heard is a public admission of the allegations at the heart of the House's impeachment inquiry and at the heart of the whistleblower's complaint, that the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump, is using the power of his office to solicit foreign interference in the 2020 election, while doing it relying on a debunked conspiracy theory or two.
Crazy.
By the way, this is not hearsay. This is not a leak. This is not a whistleblower complaint. It's not a memorandum of a phone conversation. You heard the president himself do it on the White House lawn. This moment should arguably be a national emergency. The founding fathers would have considered it a national emergency if the president publicly lobbied multiple foreign governments to interfere in the next election. And yet there has been virtually no condemnation from the president's party at all on this remark, which is remarkable considering the precedent it would set and the lasting damage it would do to our democracy. It's tough to say lightly, but this is the moment that we're at.
Oh, for God's sake.
Yeah, they don't believe nothing. Yes, you heard that yesterday, right? We all heard that yesterday. It's not a memo. It's not secondhand information. It's not, a text message, which all the text messages are out because, you had Volker yesterday from the State Department go to the Hill behind closed doors and turned over. It was the Dukas take 'em. He took 'em, the text messages, and turned them over to Congress. And Congress has released parts of the text messages. There are still more text messages to come. The reason why all of them haven't been released is because they have other people's names in them. And the committees want to protect those who are named and did nothing wrong. They're vetting them so that other people don't get dragged into this muck that Donald Trump, this swamp that Donald Trump has created around him. He is, literally the thing from the Black Lagoon. I mean, that is what this man is. And so, look, this is how the week started. And I know this is always bizarre on a Friday. Friday, everybody. It's always bizarre on a Friday to look back 5 days because it's like, whoa, wait, that was this week? Yeah. So earlier this week, there was a blockbuster article in the Washington Post that clearly showed that Donald Trump understood, knew, and excused Russian interference in our election. That is important today because now he's saying it was Ukraine that the people at CrowdStrike, a company in Irvine, California, dumped the server, the DNC server. By the way, if you want to go to the homework section, in the articles today about these there's an article in there about how this conspiracy theory got started. There's an actual photo, seriously, of the missing server that the FBI never took. The DNC server is on display at DNC headquarters in Washington, D.C. Now, I've broadcast out of the DNC headquarters in Washington, D.C. I've used their studios before. It's a kind of nondescript, 1980s sort of a brick-ish building. It's not anything to look at. It's way off the beaten path. It's not, the Department of Treasury. It's not, and it's just a little building that the DNC has. And they do a lot of media out of that building, and they have a studio there. So I was allowed to use it when I was covering things in Washington, D.C. And I'm telling you, in that building, in that actual little building, is the file cabinet from the 1972 Richard Nixon burglary. Yeah, the file cabinet that the burglars broke into in the Watergate Hotel. That's on display at the DNC. And next to it, on a little kind of snack tray on a little table, is the DNC server. Just so you know, the server is not missing. Okay, it's not. But at the beginning of this week, there was an article where the conversation between Sergei Kislyak and Sergei Lavrov that Donald Trump had in the Oval Office the day after he fired James Comey, where the president acknowledged that Russia, did interfere in our elections, and told Lavrov and told Kislyak highly classified information gotten by the Israelis having to do with Syria. Okay, you remember that, right? You remember that. Okay, so in the Washington Post on Monday was an article by Shane Harris, Josh Dawsey, and Ellen Nakashima that said that President Trump told two senior Russian officials in the 2017 Oval Office meeting that he was unconcerned about Moscow's interference in the 2016 election because, and he actually made an evaluation that the United States does it too, therefore Russia was welcome. And this conversation apparently was put in the vault, the covert operator server vault. That's the server that we need. Okay. Fast forward to last night, Volker testifies on Capitol Hill yesterday for 9-10 hours and brings the text messages. The text messages are between Rudy Giuliani, Volker, this guy Sundland. You got to ask yourself, who are these people? I'll tell you in a minute. Sundland, and these text messages are evidence of a quid pro quo. A quid pro quo. Evidence that Donald Trump was holding up military aid to Ukraine and refused to set a date to meet the newly elected President Zelenskiy, which is what Zelenskiy was looking for, a date when he could talk to the President of the United States. But before Donald Trump would release military aid and before he would set a date for Zelenskiy to have an audience with the President, he wanted Ukraine to sign on to a statement saying they had opened up an investigation into Hunter Biden. And they were going to open up an investigation into CrowdStrike, the Irvine company, to look for the missing server, which is why it's important that the server is not missing. It is literally on display at the DNC right next to the Watergate file cabinet. So this is all a crazy conspiracy theory. Now, go back like a day and a half ago when Jamie Raskin got information about Mike Pompeo receiving a package of propaganda. That package of propaganda was mostly targeted at the U.S. ambassador to Ukraine. Trump also cites her in the phone call with Zelensky saying she's bad news, she's got to go. Why? Because the conspiracy theory also includes information from the disgraced, corrupt prosecutor. Information in there that says that ambassador, and this is fake and debunked, had a do not prosecute list that the Obama administration spirited over to her to give to the Dirty Prosecutor, and that it included Burisma or whatever, the gas company that Hunter Biden joined the board of after 2014. Well, it's exactly the opposite. The Dirty Prosecutor created a do not prosecute list. See what I mean? Everything is backward. Hey everybody, this is a clip from the latest episode of the Randi Rhodes Show. If you want the full episode, you can watch live on Free Speech TV, Dish Channel 9450.